Well, hello there, everybody. How y'all doing? It is Friday. Yeah, amazing how we get in tune to these rhythms, these rituals. That's what it is, right? Isn't that what a routine is? Sure it is. Anyway, as I hit that button there and I can see myself live and well, what is live? I can see a reflection, the image of myself, which then would that make it me? If I'm created in the image of me, that's what's happening, then let's see. So if I'm the image of what was created or what that which created the image, then that would make me God. Holy crap, Batman. That's I'm watching myself in live. Isn't that interesting? Stagger you. And the image is reversed, you know. Well, anyway, let's see. It is the 14th, so we have this modern day tradition where it's very occultic, basically. I mean, Valentine's Day is about the worship of the god or goddess of love. And then you get into this stuff where, you buy flowers or you buy something, you make an offering. And isn't it interesting how if you trace that back, hmm, let me see. So we got this worship thing with this god or goddess, Valentine. Okay. What else? Well, hell, I mean, Christmas is really all about Saturnalia. I mean, it's got a few other new things that they add to it, but that's just Hellenizing it. Jeez. So happy Valentine's. Much love to everyone. Much love to everyone watching. Thank you. Appreciate it very much. As we get going, I have my notes here so you can just keep the flow. You know what I'm saying? Um, but anyway, hope you all having fun. Welcome everyone in the chat room. What's up? Much love to everybody. Hello, Nina. Make sure to check out her show of the weekend, I think on Sunday, and many times she is with Robert V over there on Milky Way Soul Tribe. Boy, yesterday I had some meetings I was going to do and then get called away. You ever have that happen where you have what seems to be easy. And then it gets, yeah. So anyway, got some catching up to do. Millie, what's up? Good to see you. Thank you. I'll just look in the chat room. Hello, Chloe. Lady Ellie, good to see you. Wow, what's up? Good to see Michelle and Nina's there. Speaking of her as well. Joyce, good to see you. Bonnie, Deborah, how's everything at the house? Trust it's well. Hello, Josh, Mr. Floyd's Universe. Who else? Gilbert? Yeah, going to be cold, brother. Yeah, next week is going to be apparently a real, woo, man. That, as they say, that's the only time when all men are created equal. Bonnie says Saturn judges you. We're going to get into this thing because Bonnie, it's actually really pretty relevant. Hello, Gaia. Much love to you and Paul. Anthony, good to see you as well as I'm trying to get back there. Donnie, good to see you as well. There we go. If I haven't seen you, well, I send love to you. Because, this is an interesting study. I think you can agree with this statement that modern man, we we think because we have technology that we somehow are superior in every way to the past generations. And the further back you go, the more ignorant people were, right? Because they didn't have technology, they didn't have highways, they didn't have electricity. And that's what we have been shown. There have been regressions, no doubt, in our species history, but it seems that there was still a knowledge that they had that we don't have, much less most people don't even know about. And what makes our study so relevant is that if you look at what's happening around us, I mean, upheaval is everywhere. Now, maybe it's just me, I don't know, but in how I framed my existence here, I was taught that when you see things can become chaotic in this realm, well, that means they're chaotic in the ether, or what one would define as the spiritual realm. The war never ended, apparently. That war is still ongoing. We have been wiped to be conditioned that it's not in our psyche to think about. Yeah, you'll have your religious moment and experience, but the vast majority of people don't think about this ongoing war that apparently eclipses us, if you can figure out how long us have been here. And today we're seeing shifting taking place on a level that, I've been on this planet for 25,120 something days. And, I saw a lot of upheaval. I remember Kennedy when he was assassinated. Um, remember Nixon, you know, remember Reagan. And as I've looked through these things and lived through them, and if you're of the same generation I am, you lived them as well. If you're younger, well, you'll read about it. Unfortunately, you're reading it from a certain narrow perspective on what was. I mean, I have read some books about Vietnam that I'm going, what freaking universe was that written in? Like, no. But anyway, I digress. That the upheavals that are taking place right now, it's a broad spectrum. And it is happening at such a rapid rate. It's like we're in this vortex that the events are happening so fast that it's causing a psychic vortex to form. Now, I happen to think that that's apparently something is shifting in the spiritual realm. So it would behoove us to say, okay, well, we're spiritual creatures, or so we think. I think I am, and I've always had this thirst for knowledge. It seems like I was never satisfied with the status quo. I was always an outsider. In many people's perspective, I was odd, um, smart, but a quick learner. And that went for my spiritual journey as well. And then you get into this stuff and you're going, all right, so we got this perpetual black cube. And I was writing notes yesterday to myself, and it's amazing in my past studies how that cube concept was right there in front of me. I just didn't see it. Um, and as I said earlier, when you look at our holidays and how we celebrate, they're mostly to the gods. And when you begin to pierce the veil, so to speak, um, something begins to become rather obvious. When you look at our ancestors and the pantheon of their culture, of how they viewed themselves in a spiritual sense is really profound. We get most of our beliefs because of them. And if you think about this, now, if you're the side that you think they were just ignorant, ignorant people are the ones that believe in these gods and have these festivals. No, it's who and what we are. It's where we come from. They were not stupid. They were not dumb. They had technology. They had a technology that you and I don't have any memory of. And so if these gods exist, then that means they exist now. And if they are at war, then that means war's coming to us. Now, war can have many different interpretations, perspectives. Chaos would be one sign of war. And so it seems that there is yet a God that I have to say, I've only cursory have in the past have documents and other things concerning this god, Saturn. And it seems like this god, Saturn, um, wow. You could take it in one perspective that he's so confident. I mean, he rules this realm, this planet. He knows that to be a fact, that so much so he doesn't really need to be in the forefront. In fact, um, he prefers to be in the background. You know, he lets us animals run around in circles thinking that somehow we're accomplishing something, but at the whole time, he's still back here. And his structure, how he's framed reality, is how we see reality. And when you begin to look at in fact, I got some really uh, good documents. I want to get into them pretty quickly. By the way, how many of you read about Musk and his release of Gork 3, this new generation of chatbot? And by his own words, he says, this thing is scary smart. Moving right on along, you say, what? Um, it's interesting. So I went out there, and this is in my Kindle, and wanted to get some. All right. So what is the material of this Saturn god? I've read bits and pieces. I am not in any way an expert, but the way that I know how you become an expert is that you read, you assimilate the information, and then you add it to your knowledge. So it seems like this Saturn god has been around for a long time. If you look over at the Thunderbolts project over on their channel, I think Signs of an Alien Sky, um, there's more to this, folks, than what we've been taught. It says at one time Earth was in the shadow and the light of Saturn. And then this war came in, whether you want to say it was Venus, or if you want to say it was the brown dwarf star 70,000 years ago, whatever. Something came in and upset the table. So I wanted to get into this real quick here because this is really interesting. Here we go. Let me go back one. It says, when the disciple knows Saturn as the God, that's a capital G, who offers opportunity and does not only feel him to be deity, who brings disaster, then he is on the path of discipleship in truth and in deed, and not just theoretically. Alice A. Bailey, Esoteric Astrology. Um, and I wanted to get into this as we get back to our document, the Black Cube, the Perpetual Black Cube. This, let me just read this forward. It's for any serious student of astrology. Liz Green is essential reading. She is the much lauded pioneer of 20th century psychological astrology and a legend who helped shape and mold what we now consider to be modern day astrology. Throughout her career, she has keenly demonstrated the power of astrology in helping us understand ourselves. As she has shown, we are not static, but constantly evolving beings. Her writing has helped unlock the symbols of astrology, breaking them open to reveal their subtler dimensions. Saturn is a strong example of how Green did this. With this book, she went far into changing our perception of an ill-perceived planet, effectively exposing Saturn's richness, nuances, and crucial role in sandpapering us so we can become better versions of ourselves. Liz Green was instrumental in changing our understanding of Saturn. As she explains in this book, Saturn is not here to punish us. Rather, he creates obstacles and discipline, which helps us grow and mature. As Green writes, the beast is always the dark face of the handsome prince. In other words, our struggles provide keys to unlocking our highest potentials. She points out that Carl Jung once wrote that before Christianity, evil was not quite so evil. In Christianity, astrology, we have lost many of the subtle paradoxes which this rich symbolic system contains. Green has helped us reclaim the paradox and the subtleties that we lost. She not only assists us in becoming more sophisticated astrologers, but also more psychologically sophisticated humans. Saturn is the perfect example of how she masterfully unveils us. She helps us to see a planet that represents suffering is an unavoidable stepping stone to growth. How can we embrace the pain, restriction, and discipline of Saturn in order to evolve and become more whole? How can we shift in conditioning of thousands of years of religious doctrine to open to the notion that pain is not punishment, pleasure not reward? While her verbiage and framework are psychological, Green's work has an underlying echo of Eastern philosophy. She not only encourages us to stop oscillating between good and evil, she also explains how we can specifically transmute our struggles into wisdom. As an example, she points out in her section on Saturn an aspect to the sun that to become whole, we have to integrate both sides of ourselves. The bright light of our sun, the Saturn's painful obscurations and depressions. In fact, she explains that these sides are not opposite at all. Both of them are us, necessary parts of our complete selves. Saturn, like winter, is cold and turns us inward. But by experiencing the absence of sunlight and warmth, we are able to feel more joy when spring comes, when the sun shines, the days lengthen, and the flowers begin to bloom. Working with Saturn, the disciplinarian and constrictor, we similarly feel a great appreciation for the sunlight of our ego expression, vitality, creativity, and excitement for life. Discipline brings joy. Suffering brings wisdom. Integrity, morality, and self-awareness brings freedom and competence. Why we ever demonize our obstacles, our pains, and fears is a great mystery. and it continues to wreak havoc on our minds and societies. Suppressing our shadows and projecting them outward spawns war inside ourselves and in the world at large. By studying Saturn, understanding and experiencing his important lessons as laid out in this book, we can slough away and reorganize the parts of ourselves that are blocking our cheerfulness and sanity. We can step into our mastery, appreciating that where we struggle is also where we eventually shine. Anyway, that's pretty profound. I think you have to agree with that. So, we'll get back to this a little bit more about Saturn. Um, as I have read ahead a little bit on that, it's interesting. If you stop, and we should, thinking on, well, when have I learned the most? Now, I have shared a childhood much like many of you have shared. It was not pleasant. Um, it really messed with us. It took us, some cases, decades to get it kind of figured out, at least. And, where you get to that place where you stop hating yourself and all of that, as painful as it was. Um, but I learned a great deal at a very early age. The thing that I can say that the lack of technology that I had growing up in my generation as baby boomers, um, we had uh, we had to mature early because things were hard. They weren't easy. You know, there was, not an abundance, many times food. And as I look back, and then you have the abuse thing thrown in there, it has a tendency to damage the soul. It begins to create a negative self-image of the child and et cetera. But I got to say, I learned a lot from that. When I was put out into the street, thank you, state of Texas, um, at the age of 15, I look back and it's a freaking miracle that I survived. I mean, holy crap. Uh, but nevertheless, again, many times it wasn't easy, but you learn and you begin to learn quickly. And it seems like even in relationships, those that have caused us the most pain is where we got the biggest lessons of life. And so I speak of all this to bring to your memory what you've gone through. Now, get into the aspect that if there are, in fact, entities, forces that have a direct influence and impact on reality, because they, she, he, however you want to frame it, they actually framed reality. We didn't invent it. We didn't create it. Something did. And here we are. It's like the rat said, forget the cheese. Just get me the fuck out of the trap. So we're here. So we know about Yahweh. We know about the God of the Bible, both of them, the old and the new. And you look at this and you're going, I smell a rat. I smell a big fat rat. And because it's like this story has been created and we've all fallen for it because we're masterful beings. We create our own sub reality within the framework of what reality is. Now, that's how clever we are. And we are indeed clever. Most people don't see themselves as powerful entities, but they should. So should you. So should I. I mean, we create reality within a framework of reality. R. Wayne Steiger. But seriously, so it would behoove us if we're really like smart, which I think we are. I attribute that there's a lot of free thinkers, open-minded people that I just adore and appreciate. So here is one of the documents. This is interesting. So you have this thing that this person termed, which is the Falsalarian sorcery and the Saturnine current. Now, this is for the neophytes, which I'm raising my hand. All right. So the way you learn is that you read and you base that at reading, then you begin to catalog it. And that which you identify most, you'll remember the quickest. And that you don't, you begin to disassociate. So, all right, we'll get back to our cube thing, but this cube is Saturn. So this mystery of it being here, the black cube, it's everywhere. Well, maybe someone out there is watching us. And maybe they're giving us a break and they said, "Here, kid, gonna give you a little thing. You do with what you want with it, but might want to check it out." All right, so the Saturn god. I'll just give you a little heads up of what I found. Holy crap. There is a group of people. This has been going on for freaking thousands and thousands and thousands of years. In one uh, version or another, it's still the same tapestry. So the Saturnarian divinity is a powerful meta-god whose many aspects have been venerated throughout various cultural polytheisms. These aspects, at least the ones known to me, are functionally independent of champions of microscopic alchemy who work to engender mass human spiritual evolution. These are night side divinities, gods of chaos and black magic. Well, class, if we just stop right here, that was a mouthful. But we can't be ignorant of the fact that it is these dark gods, these demon gods. Um, if you look at it, and this is, and when I was in Christianity, particularly in the Pentecostal, charismatic side of the equation, you were taught that there's a spiritual battle going on. There's a spiritual battle for your soul. There's a spiritual battle taking place in the heavens, and you're tuned into this. Jesus taught you that you could bind the spirits, you could loose the spirits, but we don't look at it like that. And the thing about it is, there is this other side of the equation that, well, maybe it's not the daytime gods that rule the night. Why do people go out and party at night? Why do people primarily want to party and get drunk, get high at night? Why is most the sex that takes place at night? Maybe more to this than what we have led to believe. Um, this author says, I work with 7 aspects of the Saturnian divinity, of which it is its highest form, which to my knowledge has not yet been recorded. The other aspect I work with are Saturn, Kronos, Zual, Balor, Dehar, and Satri. These beings are all attributed, of course, to Saturn, but also to the sun, the moon, and the black sun. They are to be approached as gods, not as equals, and it is forbidden to partake of offerings made to them. Their energies are similar but distinct, and being hit with more than one simultaneously can be pretty intense. Saturnine Gnosis is characteristically heavy, and its alchemy most potent. This is why I have seen fit to create a Saturnarian magical praxis geared towards newer magicians. It is the aspect known as Zul, who is known for taking beginners under his wing. His name has been translated as meaning the distant, the alien, the one who is far away. Venerated in the Arabic polytheism, which predates Islam, he was held to impart longevity, post-mortem fame, social acceptance, and eloquence to those he favored. Isn't it amazing how we learn these little things on the side over here? I mean, isn't what we say here is that if you're going to approach the gods, the goddesses, the angels, the demons, you should be speaking favor first. Listen, always nice to bring a bottle of wine when you first are inviting people or being introduced. Well, I say wine. I mean, it can be chocolate. Yeah, anything you know what I'm saying. Um, His influence begot fertility and success in agriculture. He ruled over the unknown, unusual, forgotten, concealed, and taboo. We love taboo. It's salacious. And when you see the word fertility, that word also means directly sex. It's always about sex. Listen, if you don't think the spirit realm doesn't have sex, give me a break. It may not be in the form that we see it, but no, I think there's a version thereof. And every time I see Zool, I always think of Ghostbusters. Hello, Zool. Zool is a patron, and I'm not making fun of you, Zool, so don't get pissed off. Zool is a patron deity of wisdom and spirituality. He's a spirit of death and ferocity who engenders the continual effervescence and of his acolytes, magnifying their wisdom and power. Well, that's a pretty cool thing. I mean, if you're in business, you typically want to associate and be introduced to those who have maybe a position that would help your position and or they have a network, you know what I'm saying? Why can't you do the same thing with these gods and goddesses? So I think this is kind of cool. He wants to see you get smarter. He wants to see you obtain more power. Now here's the thing. Virtually 99.9999999% of people who hear this will completely ignore it. Oh, that's just good to know about, but that's not in my psychic realm, Okay, but never hurts to at least go by and, you know, introduce yourself. Zool, how are you doing? My name's R. Wayne Steiger. Good to see you. You know, favor be to you. Um, he knows the way to create every kind of egregore, and his auspices are optimal for the enchantment of totems, idols, sigils, divinatory devices, and all magical tools. His auspices are also of use in love conjurations. I don't know. Maybe it's just me again, but that's a hell of a resume. I mean, all right, so you're telling me that he's from the dark side. Okay, but I mean, what's wrong with that? I mean, it's like if you're a company that's looking for capital and you've been told that there's this individual you really should get, if you get a chance to be introduced, you really should. And and so you go back and you find out that this person is well connected. This person has everything that's on your list. This is kind of like Zool. I mean, I'd invite Zool in. I mean, seriously? He knows the way to create every kind of egregore, and his powers are optimal for enchantment of totems, idols, sigils, divinatory devices, and all magical tools. And he's also good at making love potions. Love potion number 9. Anyway, Zul or Zohal gives wisdom to those who will listen and gives aid to the pursuit of the true way, which lies beyond all religion. I mean, I'm liking this is a cool deity. You know what I'm saying? So far, I mean, tell me the downside to this, right? Um, and sir, we're giving you respect on this. It's good to know. And listen, you don't think that there's a corresponding? I mean, I have a sense that these beings are un omnipotent. They can be in multiple places at the same time. Our laws of physics shows that that is possible. Hmm. While he will reveal the extent of his immense power to magicians of higher or intermediate levels, he emanates a soothing aura around beginners so that they are not startled or disturbed. I mean, I'm feeling the love here. I just got to tell you, feeling the love. This person says, in my self-designed praxis for Saturnarian magic, the planetary magic of Saturn comes second to the veneration of the different aspects of the Cenarian divinity and working with the shadow people, which are the emissaries of the Roman face of the Saturn divinity, variously known as Starcy, Saturn, and Saturnius. There are various demons who specialize in Saturnarian magic and alchemy as well, including Urabak, Abandon, and Biel. These demons can certainly play a role in one's Saturnine praxis. Zul himself is a demon, such that he is a part of the demonic collective I refer to as the Osshogger or the Infernal Divine. Wow. Veneration of the Saturnarian divinity makes the planetary magic of Saturn far more accessible. Uh, Eliphas Levi attributed works of malediction and death to Saturn Echinocchian magic by Gerald J. Schuler. We've read some of his works. Attributes intuition and thought formation to the planet. And according to the Manual of Occultism by the Saffarel, the planet denotes obstruction, defects, privations. So, and there's even more on this. We'll get into this. There are these fraternities that they it's amazing. I mean, they're perpetual, which leads us back to where we left yesterday. I mean, this whole subject matter, this perpetual black cube, it's everywhere and it has been everywhere. And again, it's directly tied to Saturn. All right, so this is the Antikythera mechanism. I don't know if I had that right, but it's close enough. Found in a submerged shipwreck on the island named the same thing, hence its name, back in 1901. This marvelous machine does not exist in literature. Nothing like it. According to some mainstream historians, some guy or group suddenly decided to make the most complicated analog machine in the world, all without training, without books, without a factory, without an institutionalized knowledge. And those of you who are looking here, you can see. Now, we don't have a date for this, much less how, how did they do this without the tools, the fine machinery that you would need? It says if you pay attention to how all machines evolve, a prototype is first made, barely functional and heavily flawed. We call that your alpha phase, and then you got to get into your beta phase, right? And in observing a flaw, a modification is made to address it on a new iteration, not the existing one. With each iteration, with each improvement. For complicated machines made of multiple parts and whose parts are measured in nanometers, cannot be molded by human hands. Okay. Remember again? Okay. Okay. A factory is required. By extension, the construction process of a machine is recorded and can be recreated with the exact results. A better model of an existing machine is the creation of an old one with new modifications in its creation process. Sounds complicated. Let's envision the development of a simple analog astronomical clock. Only a few gears to show the position of the sun on your specific hour or day. Only once that iteration is successful. Do you add the gears for the moon on the next iteration? Now you can combine them to calculate the eclipse for the new iteration and for future iterations. Do the same for all the celestial objects. Now you need new gears to correct for specific nonlinear events of each celestial object. Maybe that's how they knew 5,000 years ago specific dates that we see these events in our time. It would mean that there would have to have been a pre-existing knowledge of time itself on a level that supposedly, people who are, living in a tent can't figure out. Really? I like camping. He says, my point is, this refined machine could have been only been the result of thousands of iterations. And look at this. And he's got a very complicated graph here um, showing how time can be used to predict future celestial events. Just got to know which gear you're in, right? Do you believe a group suddenly completes a fully functional machine of unbelievable complexity without having previous iterations? That you can have software reach version 8.0 without version 0.1? Been there. Cheers, everyone. Assemble this by hand. This level of refinement, the complexity is necessarily the result of mass production. It so happened one of them was found in a shipwreck. Who says there aren't more of the exact same model? Especially so if the one found in the shipwreck wasn't created in that era, but in a previous, and the ship carrying it was carrying an ancient item, so it's even more ancient for us. After all, the easiest way to make an astronomical clock with these features is to make it room sized. They managed to polish it down to the point of almost fitting in your pocket, book size. How many iterations did the desktop computer's computation power require to be reduced to a mobile phone? I can tell you a lot about that one. Try to invent a payment system on a network using a mobile device that doesn't even fully exist yet. Yeah. How did that happen? I'm telling you, I was talking to a higher source. Um, A device to track the stars, all without electricity, functioning always, anywhere, any year. This is technology superior to our own. No company produces such a device. Ultimately, it is more logical to accept that the ancient Greeks we know of simply inherited the infrastructure of their ancestors after the worldwide cataclysm which sank Atlantis, Noah's Ark, the flood, but they remember fragments of their destroyed technology and even possessed some antiques. When Atlantis went down, I mean, this is an upheaval. And depending on your perspective on this, we're on the eve, the precipice of the next one. And when it hits, even though we have read about it, even though we may anticipate it, but when it happens just like this. When I used to run, get up about 4 o'clock and go out, and I had this come to me as a prophecy for myself. It was a thing, but it was, and I remember distinctly what came to me, and it was like in a second, everything will change. Within a day, nothing will be the same. Yeah. Um, Imagine such a reset. Survivors of our generation would share stories to our children of cars, and they would think of metal horses, fed with fire instead of grass, drinking black water instead of normal water. Just like the Vedic texts you have, swift flaming arrows shot towns away, where a single arrow put a city to fire, aka missiles. Yeah, they had nukes. Ancient, well, there it is. How about that, Steiger, huh? Come on. Ancient nukes. All right. The 4,000-year-old city of Mohenjo-daro is located in present-day Pakistan, whose surface layer is ash, radioactive ash, ash with high levels of radioactivity even to this day, and with skeletons who bear no signs of injuries, killed instantly. And around the claimed impact site, everything was glassified, even rocks. A city whose civic planning matches our own. I mean, if you believe the fable story of Sodom and Gomorrah, nukes. I mean, these gods are not what I think the biggest surprise is when people cross over to the other side is that they realize, oh shit. Ain't nothing like I was all those decades. What? Yeah. And then they have the adjustment rooms, well, you need to go over here because we know. Anyway, so in Pakistan, they have a city 4,000 years ago that predates the Bible, folks. Um, yeah. In the internet, the following infamous translation of a passage from the Mahabharata, excuse me, no, no, I mispronounced that, should grab your attention. A single projectile charged with all the power of the universe, an incandescent column of smoke and flame, as bright as 1,000 suns, rose in all its splendor. A perpendicular explosion with its billowing smoke clouds, the cloud of smoke rising after its first explosion, formed into an expanding round circles like the opening of a giant parasol. It was an unknown weapon, an iron thunderbolt, a gigantic messenger of death, which reduced to ashes the entire race of the reminiscence of the Anhakis. The corpse were so burned as to be unrecognizable. The hair and nails fell out. Pottery broke without apparent cause, and the birds turned white. After a few hours, all foodstuffs were infected. To escape from this fire, the soldiers threw themselves in streams to wash themselves and their equipment. All right, so let's just stop there and and I'm going to go a little bit over again today because I tell you, and I thank you for the emails. I'm a little bit behind on them, but so many kind people are like really digging this, and it's like, okay, we'll continue. I'm digging it. But here we go. A human wrote this. A human witnessed this. And if a human that was 4,000 years in our past witnessed a nuclear exchange, what we would call a tactical field nuke, designed not for large regions, but specific localities of destruction. That's a nuclear, that's a nuke going off. We all know that. Wow. I challenge anyone to write a better description. So they had ballistic missiles, which we would probably say today. Huh. It says the bold emphasis of radiation symptoms. Their hair was falling out. Their nail. I mean, folks, that is a bad way to die. So how do we reconcile this? Do we say that the entire Hindu belief system, a race of people that far date the Anglo-Saxon people, are we saying that they're just ignorant? No, they're far more advanced than what we would ever hope to be. Um, they knew this. They washed the whole thing. Is like wow. Um, The author says, I cannot read or write Sanskrit, unlike ancient Greek, hence I apologize for no side by side comparisons. But this is what I found from the definitive translation of the Mahabharata. Anyway, you know what I'm saying, which is 5,800 pages. There's a read. So this is on page 5,775, book 16. When the next day came, Samva actually brought forth an iron bolt through which all the individuals in the race of the Vrishnas and the Adhocs became consumed into ashes. Indeed, for the destruction of the Vrishnas and the Adkahakas, there we go, Samval brought forth through that curse a fierce iron bolt that looked like a gigantic messenger of death. And I don't know, my mind immediately goes, I don't have a point of reference here other than my modern day. So was he looking at a rocket? Was he looking at a missile? Was he looking at an aircraft to deliver, or was he looking at a launching pad? I don't know. The fact was duly reported to the king. In great distress of mind, the king caused that iron bolt to be reduced into fine powder. Men were employed, O king, to cast that powder into the sea. At the command of Ahuka and of the Jandanana of Rama and of the high-souled Vabhu, it was again proclaimed throughout the city that from that day, among all the Risnas and the Adhokus, no one should manufacture wines and intoxicating spirits of any kind, and that whoever would secretly manufacture wines and spirits should be impaled alive with all his kinsmen. Well, that's prohibition. So I guess it seems like there was a technology. It makes me wonder then who were the inventors? We don't know who invented this. We don't know. There's much to the story. Um, More of the translation. The streets swarmed with rats and mice. Earthen pots showed cracks or broke from no apparent cause. At night, the rats and mice ate away the hair and nails of slumbering men. Oh man, that's just messed up, man. I mean, that's what nightmares are, right? Mm, these poor people. Many birds appeared impaled by death that were pale of complexion, but that had legs red of hue. Asses were born of kine, and elephants of mules. Cats were born of bitches, and mice of the mongoose. Wow. If I'm reading what I'm interpreting that's some serious genetic mutations. In cook rooms, upon food that was clean and well boiled, were seen, when it was served out for eating, innumerable worms of diverse kinds. Oh man, there was something in that nuke that I don't pair we apparently don't have. Okay. Um, The caster of foes commanded the Verisnus to make a pilgrimage to some sacred water. The messengers forthwith proclaimed at the command of the Kishkava that the Verisnus should make a journey to the sea coast for bathing in the sacred waters of the ocean. So they had to have radiation sores just all over their bodies. I mean, wow. Okay. I don't know about you. This is kind of, it throws your perspective and spatial perception of what we are as a species. And folks, that wasn't that long ago. It makes the mud flood, excuse me, the theory or the possibility much more likely. The above two translations have suspicious many differences on hair, nails falling out, rats omitted in the first translation, but they both depict the same imagery. An iron bolt, a missile, instantly burning everything, followed up by an ash cloud, fine powder in the above translation, which was hauled to the sea, and the resulting radiation caused mutation, diseases, and the inability to produce or consume food. In short, the aftermath of a nuke. And let's not even touch the Varamas, which were flying vehicles whose description matches that of our description of UFOs. Wow. Um, all right, I'll go for a little bit more. Why not? This is as you can see, we don't have much left to go in this. 10 scarcity in an age of 10 abundance, the Bronze Age. Bronze is an alloy of copper and tin, yet there is not a single tin mine in eastern Mediterranean. Millions of archaeological excavations, yet in Greece, tin objects were more rare than gold objects. So it kind of gives you where these artifacts were found. The conclusion is quite simple. There was a vast trading network via the Phoenicians. Europe was fully known to those of the Eastern Mediterranean. Further proof of this comes from in 2019's research paper from the Heidelberg University in collaboration with the Kurt Eglehorn Center of Arco, Archometry. There we go. It's been a long time on that one. Moving on, where they examined 10 ignits from archaeological sites in Greece, modern day Turkey, and Israel. They are chemically far closer to the 10 deposits in Europe than of Central Asia. For example, the 10 artifacts from Israel largely match 10 from Cornwall and Devine, Great Britain. Hmm. You know, there is the legend that about Jesus that, Joseph of Arimathea was actually Mary's uncle. And when Joseph, Mary's husband, of Jesus, right, when he died, Joseph of Arimathea took Mary in and the young Jesus and took Jesus and her. Now, Joseph of Arimathea, I know I'm throwing a curveball here, but it's interesting. He was over all the Roman interest in the Roman Empire of all their mining. He was incredibly rich. And it is said that Jesus grew up not only in Egypt, but spent a large amount of time in England. Hmm. But I digress. So now we're finding 10 ingots that the technology in the mines would, you could say, well, that's almost impossible. Apparently not. In simpler words, tin was imported from Europe in order to make bronze. A last proof of tin's origin and how connected to the ancient world is the origin of tin in the ancient Greeks. Greeks never minded. Um, I guess we'll stop here. We'll pick up on Monday on this. So this is the electrical Bronze Age. Yep, they had electricity, folks. We'll get into that. Good place to break off. Yeah, I know I threw everyone a curveball on the thing, but that's the story in the search for the authentic Jesus. He was a rich dude, man, really rich. So, all right, everybody. I hope you found that interesting. So, all right, we're getting closer to finding out that there may be something completely different in all of the world's beliefs. And as things were, yet they shall be again. And even that which is hidden shall be brought forth before out in full sight. I don't know. Things like we're here. I like the fact that, this author agrees with me that you're carrying God with you in your pocket. God. Imagine that in your pocket. That God answers your every question. No delay. You don't have to pray. You just have to, give it your attention. Someone, Peter, I saw your email before I got in real quick because I'm trying to catch up on those. Where today it's biometrics. When I was inventing the mobile payment system, um, biometrics was just coming to the forefront. I knew the company and they were ahead of their time. They had the technology, they had the vision of where things were going. They were just ahead of the curve. And it's amazing now, Peter, you're right pointing out that you have to have your fingerprint in order to unlock your phone or other devices. And when you put your thumb on a electrical device, just because you can't see it or feel it doesn't mean it's not taking place. There's a transference of energy. Now, if we believe in the first and second laws of thermodynamics, energy can neither be created nor destroyed, but is in a constant change. So the exchange of energy to these black boxes, this cube, I mean, think about it. Everything. And it comes alive. And there you go. Yeah. Of course, there's nothing into this. This is just, I've had someone write me and going, you are one of he says, you are really out there, dude. Well, I may be, but the air's fresher out here, and the scenery is the view is just billion-dollar view. Besides that, those of us that are like really out there, we are far better off than the rest of you who are in there because we can see the opportunity before you even recognize it that it comes. We can see the real estate and we know exactly where things are going to be growing metaphorically. All right, I think outside the box, we will create the new paradigm. There we go. Emerald Eagle, you're right. So anyway, hope you enjoyed this. Um, this is going to be a good study. I mean, the time we get finished with this, I'm going to tell you what, we're going to know some shit, man. Hey, Gilbert, thank you, bro. Appreciate it. Breathe deep, stay safe. Yeah. Uh, what was that? Scotty Boy says Wayne is way out there. We're hanging out with him. Well, what can you say? It's true. It's true. It's true. Anyway, um, hey Karen, good to see you. Haven't seen you in a long time. Good to see you. Thank you, Gaia. It's an interesting journey, is it not? I mean, this is the type of stuff you're not going to find uh, people talking about. I mean, I could see like a group of us meeting at a bar, and we're getting hors d'oeuvres and we're talking, and before long, our conversation begins to affect the energy around us, and you could see this happening. And so that where other tables stop what they're talking about and they do that lean in, they're trying to catch that conversation. Yeah, I see that happening. And we could actually have the whole bar within, 15, 30 minutes and we we take over the place. So uh Paul Joe, right back at you. Hey Jackie J, nothing missing, nothing broken, darling. Good to see you, Jules, my dear. All right, Mary wins, we won. Um Getting back from Egypt. Well, that's what you could call you saw the Nile. That's cool. Cool. Very cool. All right. Hey, Susie Q. Good to see you, dear. All right, folks. Have yourself a great weekend. Daytona's this weekend. Yeah, I do watch Daytona. I was involved in NASCAR for a number of years, and yeah, still like the sport, although I think it's gets a little bit more on the other side of a philosophical point of view, but that's okay. I think it was. We have to tell us sometimes, Karen, what it was like. I mean, I haven't been to Egypt. Have you? Has to be a journey. Yeah, had to be an interesting journey, no doubt. All right, everybody. Susie Q says, well, if NASCAR is on, it's officially spring. That's what I'm talking about, girl. Although I can remember when I lived in Knoxville, we were heading to the track in Atlanta, and we got like something like 27 inches of snow. And it was one of the few times that the Atlanta Motor Speedway was snowed in. Yeah, crazy crap. Yeah, so much for the global warming, right? All right, folks, have yourself a great weekend. Support the other channels out there, Nina, Robert V, and all the rest. And thank you. Let me know what you think as well. Hit the like button. Appreciate that as you're walking out. I mean, let me know what you think of the subject matter. I'm going to get Ryder on. I invited him to come on, and we're going to get a date next week. And we're going to talk about this because I'd like to get Ryder's perspective as well. Because, this is like the black goo. I mean, it's like when you think of the black cube, the cube, the black goo is there. It's just in a different state. Don't know what I mean. All right. Kill your egregore. Happy Valentine's right back at you. All right, folks. Much love. Be good to yourselves. Go out and laugh and have some fun.